Ice Spice is named in this lawsuit. The producer Riot is named in this lawsuit. They're both accused of stealing a song, stealing the beat, everything. I actually have a copy of the complaint, which is amazing. Let's get into this Ice Spice lawsuit. And that crunch sound is not me. That is a cat. It's always when I'm podcasting, he wants to play with the crunchiest toys in the house. This is At Odds, and we are brought to you by the great people at Two Lost Distribution. If you want premium distribution, free for 3 whole months and only $2.99 per month after that, then go to twolost.com, use the promo code ATODDS, ATODDS, and you'll get those 3 free months. And if you don't want to use it anymore, your music stays up on all the platforms. We had a conversation about Turbo being sued for his producer tag. And I think Aaron and I both agreed. Dame, you weren't there that day. Here's the crunchy toy. Aaron and I both agreed that it seems like lawsuits are just flying through the music business all of a sudden. And specifically lawsuits against producers. Producers involved in these lawsuits, producers involved in legal action, seems to be at an all-time high since the Turbo situation, since the stealing and cleavies, since all the information that I uncovered when I was doing my research on copyright law. There's a new one now, and this is high profile because Ice Spice, I think, is hotter than ever, and she's being sued. And you know, when an artist is sued for a song that involves the producer, this one very directly involves the producer. So Ice Spice is named in this lawsuit. The producer Riot is named in this lawsuit. They're both, and of course the labels are involved, but they're both accused of stealing a song, stealing the beat, everything from an artist named D Chambers. And I actually have a copy of the complaint, which is amazing. Shout out to D-Tech, because we always rely in the past on Rolling Stone and other publications that really don't report well on the music business. So I have the lawsuit. What have the two of you heard about this?
I haven't heard much, so I'm reliant on the information that you're about to share.
Yeah, I haven't heard much. I've seen a couple of articles and little things pop up, but nobody really, like you said, has information. It's just kind of the same screen grab or the same couple of sentences.
So I can read off of it. I don't know that I have permission to share the actual screen. So the people who are being sued are Dolo Entertainment Inc., Ice Spice herself, Riot, aka Riot USA, the producer. People should know who Riot is. Capitol Records, Capitol Music Group, 10,000 Projects, UMG Recordings, and UMG Recordings DBA Universal Music Group. So it's a lot of plaintiffs. And the preliminary statement involves, let's see, basically that, I'll just read it. Proper comparative analysis of the beat, lyrics, hook, rhythmic structure, metrical placement. Oh, I've not heard that word in a while. Narrative context will demonstrate that In Her Mood was copied or principally derived from In That Mood. So D Chambers is an artist, unsigned artist, I believe. Maybe he's signed to an indie, who had a song called In That Mood that came out a couple months before Ice Spice In Her Mood. So that's the accusation here. And it says, without limitations, the similarities between the two songs include the same hip-hop genre and drill style, similar titles and hook/chorus lyrics, fragmented literal similarity given the importance of the phrases, title, frequency, and repeated use, the words In That Mood repeated 25 times in the work versus In Her Mood repeated 22 times, similar placement of hook, choruses, and words therein. No comment. Same entry of the hook chorus at 13 seconds. Also no comment. Same repetition of In That Mood and In Her Mood 3 times in first segment of the hook chorus. Same use of mood as the last word in each hook chorus, acting as point of emphasis and rest. Almost identical tempo of 142 beats per minute in the work versus 141 beats per minute in Her Mood. Similar use of 16th, 8th, and quarter notes, including, sorry, this part scares me. including significant identical 4-note rhythmic patterns, terminating in mood multiple times.
That part is, this is getting goofy at this point, but for sure.
I mean,
the lawyer's doing what the lawyer does.
I haven't heard either of these songs. Is it very similar? Is it, in your opinion, is it plausible that they copied the original?
Well, we'll get into plausibility because that's a really important part. I think that's the most interesting part of this particular lawsuit, because probably a lot of people are like, you got to prove that they heard it. And we're going to get to that. Upon my very cursory comparison, though, and I'm not a musicologist. The musicologist is the expert that they bring in. However, every musicologist most likely leans towards whoever is hiring them. So if I'm like, yo, I need you to prove that they stole this shit, they're going to figure it out. If I ask the same musicologist, hey, I need you to prove that we didn't steal this, they're going to figure it out. So for me, I listened. The tempos are different, but they are similar. It is drill, though, and that genre is partially defined by tempo, I would say. When I compare the two songs, the beats are different. Ice Spice, her beat, produced by Riot, uses a snare that lands on the second count 3 times per 2 bars, and then it's absent, which is not typical. Generally, there are 4 snares per measure, or per 2 measures. D Chambers uses a rim that alternates on the second and 4 and counts. So there's a big difference between something landing on a straight count and an and count. It's a difference between a quarter note and an eighth note. The bass lines are different too. Ice's hook starts at the 1 E count, so that would be a 16th note. Chambers starts between the 2 E and the 3 and count. I'm sorry, I'm just throwing out the musical terms when we count.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
When we count quarter notes, we say 1, 2, 3, 4. When we count eighth notes, we go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. When we do 16th, it's 1 E and a 2.
Some people would say it's the difference between being on the beat or in the pocket. Like the and, if you hit on the and, it's more of a like, in hip hop we do it a lot, but it's like the difference between a gospel choir and a really great band. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Got it. So what do we take from this? Where are we going?
Well, let me continue, because this is the really important part, because obviously you can conceive of similar songs being created. I think that happens all the time, right?
I mean, there's tens of thousands of songs being created every single day, hundreds of songs using the same loops. Yeah, so it's very possible. But in this situation, some of the lyrics are the same or similar as well, right? Like they say in the hook uses the same words.
The theme, yeah. The thing is, we're talking about popular phrases, right? So if someone came out, this is just one example. I'm not saying, I don't know. I'm going to continue reading because they have to establish that the people they're suing had access to the song before they created their song, because otherwise how would they copy it? But if I have a song called It's Lit, that's an incredible. How many other songs called It's Lit? Remember, Aaron, when we were talking about just trying to get to the root of the turbo matter, and we're trying to figure out with a rapper whose name was Britt, his last name was Britt, what song he did, and it was called Afghanistan, and I'm like, I'll find it. There were so many damn songs just from Atlanta alone called Afghanistan, and I couldn't find it. So is that the because a lot of people who are looking at that, they're like, oh, similar themes or similar words. They clearly stole it, and it's not straightforward, because again, you could have a song that says "Getting Money" or "No Cap This" or "It's Lit That," or what are some. Someone could do a song called "It's Giving," and like 5 people make that same song because everyone's saying these phrases. So a lot of people are using the, I'm in that mood, he's in his mood, she's in her mood, whatever. But in the lawsuit, I think they do pretty decent job establishing that there's probable access to the work, that Riot and Ice Spice probably heard D Chamber's song, because I guess it was played on Hot 97 and other big New York hip hop stations. So there, but it's still speculative. So just watch. Defendant's access to work by virtue of the Instagram post described above. So like you're getting the social media, it's crazy. Establishing that Riot was listening to Hot 97 on November 15th, 2021, less than 2 minutes before In That Mood aired on the same station, it appears more likely than not that Riot actually heard and knew about In That Mood prior to the creation and publication of In Her Mood. So they investigated an Instagram post to establish that this guy, this producer Riot, was listening to the radio. This is a lot of legalese. I didn't know Riot's father was DJ Enough, who's a really well-respected DJ. And also, I think, check this out. For example, and without limitation, Riot follows DJ Drewski on Instagram, and as evidenced by the Instagram videos described above, he has listened to DJ Drewski's radio show, during which In That Mood has been played. So you're like, social media, man, it'll get you. It's still speculative, though. But with legal language, they want it to sound clear. So D40, it says, it is beyond dispute that In That Mood was written, recorded, published, performed, and otherwise made widely available by plaintiffs before defendants created or published In Her Mood. In point of fact, records of the U.S. Copyright Office confirmed that In Her Mood was not created until 2023 and was not published until January 6, 2023. I don't know if that necessarily proves that, but when you're talking about litigation, that's when a formal copyright registration can help you. The similarities between In That Mood and In Her Mood are described herein and are so strikingly similar that they cannot be purely coincidental. So that I think that's where we get into some really heavily speculative area, and who knows, right? Because I've heard songs that were clearly rip-offs of other songs and no one says anything. And then I've also heard songs that are most likely a coincidence, and there's a big deal made about it. I don't know. But it is interesting how much you have to, and I'm just scratching the surface on this lawsuit. This complaint is 21 pages long, and I could continue and just read all these different points, but that would be kind of boring. But the fact of the matter is, I think, one, this is a case that's going to either get settled swiftly or drag out, because I think there are certainly arguments on both sides. It appears that they're suing for 7 figures. That could change, I'm not sure. And it's also clear that establishing some sort of legal case against someone for infringing on your work is incredibly difficult. And I'm imagining that both the artist who's going through all this trouble and his legal representatives are confident enough to pursue this case, because this is a pretty serious complaint.
So the original Ice Spice's song is called In Ha Mood.
Yeah, well, like a New Yorker
it's like
would
Her Mood, but
pronounce her.
Yeah, like her.
Okay, I sounded real old right there. Yeah, it has 171 million streams on Spotify, so it's a big record. I just don't know.
Yeah, it should be gold. It should be gold, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't know what to say. I mean, people don't. I've been I've been a part of a situation where a producer wasn't honest, and the original producer of the beat hit us up, and I had to go back to our producer and be like, "Yo, what is?" It sounds very similar to me, and I think if our song was a much bigger song, it would have been a bigger issue. But people are out there stealing. People are stealing ideas. People get desperate in this industry to try to get on. I mean, and also, like we said earlier, there's a lot of songs being created, so things are going to be similar. Like, there's just not that many sounds in the world when you're talking about 80,000 songs being uploaded to streaming sites every day. There's going to be some similarities. I have no idea if this person stole this song or not, but I do know that it happens. And like I said, I know creators get desperate, or whether it's writer's block or producer's block, like people be stealing. Like, it's just, but in this case, I have no idea if I'd have to listen to the records and, but hopefully it gets resolved.
How did you resolve that case where someone was accusing Funk Volume of stealing a beat?
He just didn't pursue it. Like, the producer, I can't remember if I spoke to him. He didn't pursue any legal action. If I send you both records, you're going to be like, "Oh yeah, this is way too close for it to be a coincidence." Like, way too close. So yeah.
I think
don't steal is the message.
The interesting part for me with this is, off first listen, if you are not super musically inclined, especially if you're not familiar with the drill genre, you would definitely hear it's similar. I think the interesting part too, even with this conversation, is that the onus is on the producer, which to me is more, and I get the phrasing thing. I think there's several things that could have happened. Like, I definitely, when you were talking about It's Giving, I had an artist who had a song called It's Giving, and I was like, you have to change that title. I'm like, I could show you 3 records that have over 1 million streams right now that have that title. Like, we're not going to call it that. So, like, yes, phrasing, like popular phrasing, can get in your way, but I also have sent, an artist has gotten a reference playlist, like, hey, we think that you should make songs, like, you're like, the artist, this happens a lot, artists will be like, I'm trying to figure out like what direction I want to go in, these are some songs that I like, and then the team, the A&Rs will send back a handful of songs, add to the playlist. You're just listening through sounds just to kind of get the artist, like, their juices flowing. This is a very common practice. So anybody who's surprised by this, it's like, but you send back a playlist, and then sometimes you'll get demos, and you're like, I've had to be like, hey, this song sounds exactly like X, Y, and Z. And the artist legitimately was like, how dare you accuse me of da 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 da. And I'm like, hey, here's the song. Here's 2 songs that I feel like, or here's the song that it sounds like you listened to and didn't realize you heard it, and you thought that this was a phrase or a sound in your head, and it's another song. And this artist was upset at me, then went and listened to the song and was like, hey, I don't know when I heard this song, but it probably was a subconscious thing. And it was like cadence, flow, a handful of the phrases, the bounce. And it's, again, if you're an artist, you're constantly iterating, and you might have heard a song in passing, or it was on a playlist and you didn't realize. So to me, it more so feels like I'm not putting it on her or the producer, but it almost feels like a situation like that, where it's like you either heard a song in passing, or y'all got inspired by something and then ended up essentially remaking a song with the evidence as far as like listening to the radio station, all that. I think that could be true. I'm not negating that, but this is another, I don't know, I've talked about this before. I don't know if people know this, but if a label likes a beat and they don't want to pay the producer, or even if a producer likes a beat and they don't want to do a co-production, they will go remake the beat and just change specific parts so that you can't say that it was stolen. Like, we had several Metro Boomin tracks that came across with an artist that I was working with, and they were like, we're not paying, we can't afford Metro. And they were like, can y'all remake? They sent it out to like 8 producers. Can you make something similar to this? Now, it's not a direct rip by any means, but they will send out beats and be like, hey, can you remake this and take out anything that makes it known that, you know what I'm saying? So I think there could be a combination of things at play here. And I don't want to speculate because I'm not trying to push for any type of narrative in this because we don't know what happened. But I think it's very possible that this song was heard ahead of time and then there was something else that was made. I also think it's possible. Yeah, I mean, I also think it's possible that it could have been completely random. However, listening to the song, it does feel like, whether it was malicious and intentional or not, it does feel like there's a chance that this song was heard before and was somewhat remade or
So it would have been a really quick turnaround if they had heard it and made it that, because it would have been a matter of like a month or two for them to get the song done, approved by the label, and then released. So that made me wonder, because I'm like, things don't happen that fast in the music.
Well, also though, like with her, I had heard that sometimes she'll get locked in and make 10, 15, 20 songs in a day type vibes. So it could have been like they was in the studio, but I'm with you though. Timeline though is the
timeline doesn't make sense.
But I also feel like it doesn't mean that it had to be heard on the radio. The lawyer is pushing for that, but like, especially in the music industry, there's tracks circulating before they come out. There's tracks, and then, if he's an artist who's hustling and getting his music on the radio, he's probably sent it out to a ton of, yo, check this out. He might have had it played in the club. And so to me, it's not necessarily that it was on the radio. And then, that's an easier way for the legal team to establish versus being like, this man is just in the streets and he was getting his music out there. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's what I feel like that is. But again, I don't want to insinuate anything, but on first listen, my opinion is it could be true.
Well, sure. I think from my perspective, just being skeptical about anything, Riot is not some new producer. He and Ice Spice have all the hits already. So for this to come out and for him to be desperate enough to just steal, I don't think so. The timeline throws me off a little bit. What also kind of throws me off is the fact that when I listen to both, if I'll put it this way, if we listen to instrumental versions of both beats, I don't think we would say, oh, they're the same. I don't think we would draw a connection. But the lyrics
on the producer.
Yeah, but I also feel like if say Ice Spice changed it from In Her Mood to Blow the Bag, something, people also wouldn't say, oh yeah, those are similar. They would say, no, they're totally different because thematically, topically, whatever, the semantics are now different. And I think it's going to be challenging because, judges are a factor. Whoever is hearing this case most likely won't be that musically inclined, nor will they be big fans of drill. So then it could go either way. Either they are so underexposed to music in general, specifically this type of music, that they're going to underemphasize the connection or overemphasize it. So either way, I think this is a risk for both the plaintiffs and the defendants.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta run, guys, but I don't know who Riot is. It sounds like he's a popular producer. It could be somebody under him that pitched him. It could be somebody under him that pitched him an idea. Just like Cat Williams accusing Cedric the Entertainer of stealing a joke. When comedians get to a certain size, they have writers. Maybe the writers were desperate to prove to the comedian that they work for that they have a lot of ideas, and they were online taking ideas from up and coming comedians. You just never know how this stuff comes to fruition, but it does happen. So I have no idea in this case whether they took the ideas or not.
Well, I had this happen with an artist that I was producing for it. You know, we weren't anywhere near this Ice, Spice and Riot level, but we had a song that I was proud of. We wrote the hook together. I made the beat. We came up with the theme. I thought we came up with the theme together. And it was actually one of those songs that we would perform. People recognized. It got a little local radio play. And then all of a sudden, there's this guy that I just kind of know from around the way. And he's mad. And he's very mad at both of us. I'm like, what is going on? And I'm talking to my friend. He's like, yeah, he thinks we stole the track from him. Like, what do you mean? So I found his song, and it was the same, like not the beat, but the lyrics, the verses were the same. And I'm looking at my friend like, and he's not my friend anymore, but I'm like, how did this happen? He's like, oh no. I'm like, there's no way you're this dumb and smart at the same time where your memory can recall perfectly someone else's song, but you're so dumb that you think it's your song. And actually with this particular artist, this happened 2 other times. So it shouldn't surprise me, but there was something wrong with his brain. So it does happen. I've never met Ice Spice, so I don't imagine she's that kind of person like my friend is, because that guy's a very unique piece of work. But yeah, it happens. It certainly does.
Well, I guess that's it today.
Yeah, I mean, we'll find out as this case moves forward. So once again, we appreciate you tuning in. Let us know what you think, because a lot of the people watching this are musical. So it'd be cool to hear your analysis, because when I read this and I look at what the musicologist has reported on, I'm like, oh, they're speaking my language, so I can actually engage with this, but I can also come up with my own analysis that goes against what the plaintiffs are claiming Ice Spice and Riot actually did do when they were creating that song. So appreciate you tuning in. 2lost.com, 3 free months of premium music distribution. Use the code @odds, and we will catch you on the next episode. Peace.